And we are live. Thank you so much for tuning in. Got a eventful show for you today. I want to talk about women, the ladies. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you would, please hit the thumbs up on the video and share this video. I would greatly appreciate it. I want to apologize for being out yesterday. I was a little under the weather. And then right when the show was about to start, I was like, I can't do it right now. I need to go lay it down. I was a little under the weather, but about an hour and a half after that, I was feeling a lot better. So, but anyways, not here to talk about my issues from yesterday. We have another day. We are here another day. For those of you that don't know, my name is Will Johnson. And my website is uniteamericafirst.com. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. For some of you, and you know what, Shannon, I meant to put it on Rumble and I meant to put it on X. What? The visit that I did at the Tesla event. And I meant to put it on Rumble as well. I meant to put it on there. But anyways, for those of you that didn't see it, I went to the Tesla event that the liberals were having protesting against President Trump and Elon Musk, of course. But they're targeting Elon Musk. I guess Elon Musk is an easy target because there's dealerships that are Tesla dealerships. So they found that an easy target, right? And they're targeting Elon Musk facilities, trying to get them to shut down Tesla and to destroy the Tesla brand, destroy the jobs that are people working at Tesla. So anyways, I went there this past weekend, and it was pretty eventful. One lady I can't forget, she had a megaphone and she had it right up on my ear, and I was deaf for 2 days. And I think that was part of the reason why I wasn't feeling all that great, Shannon. Maybe because of my ear, because when your ears, you never really think about it, but when your ears are affected a certain way, when you're used to, I guess I was at the point where I was about to just live with it. I thought my ear was permanently damaged, and it actually cleared up yesterday. And I thought it was just permanently damaged, and it knocks off your equilibrium, everything. It kind of blows it out the water. But anyways, ladies, ever since I picked up my first selfie stick and started doing videos, I've always made it a point to acknowledge women, acknowledge ladies, acknowledge God's creation, women. And Shannon, there's a saying that I've always said, that if I woke up tomorrow and all of the women on the planet Earth was gone, you know what I would do? I wouldn't go to work. I'm going to go out and take what I want. Because, and then it got me to thinking about other things. Women, seriously, man, you've heard the expression that said, man run the world. Man run the world, but women rule it. Because think about it. A lot of cases, the reason why a lot of men do things on planet Earth is because of women. Really it is. Now, I'm not saying bad things, because there are some bad things that happen because of women, and there's great things that happen because of women. Men doing the good things, and men doing the bad things because of women. Not in every scenario, in every single case, but there's a lot that goes on. For example, men, for the most part, they go to work to have nice things, to get a vehicle, a truck, what have you, because they know that a woman doesn't want a deadbeat man. Do you understand where I'm going with this? Women want a strong man. That's why a lot of men go to the gym, they work out, they try to watch what they eat, because they want a woman to find them attractive. For the most part. Some deviate the other way, but for the most part, every single man, woman, and child is on planet Earth because the boy met girl. But the Democrats have a problem with President Trump right now. And President Trump's cabinet consists of a lot of strong women. He really does. A lot of strong women. And the Democrats constantly try to downplay President Trump's, his interaction with women. They're trying to say that he was he doesn't respect women. The same tiring thing that they always say, but it never works. But yet they continue to do it. And now that President Trump has honored women with it, talking about a museum that's honoring women. I like that idea. Do you see anything wrong with a museum that would honor women, Shannon, being built in D.C.?
No, not at all. I mean, who would object to that? The only people that object to that is if they want trans men to be portrayed as women. I think that would be the only objection.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Or if they, advocate for men to play in women's sports. Like, there's certain things that I wouldn't agree with.
Yeah, you know what? You hit on a really good point. I think that's the reason why they would probably reject President Trump doing it, because President Trump would do it because he would recognize actual biological women. In the left, they have this thing where they're still pushing that men and women are not different. They're trying to say that men, of course, can compete against women in sports and it should be fine, even though only because a man is pretending to be a woman. It's fine. And, there's a chemical imbalances going on with these people. Well, I want to share some stuff with you to make me want to talk about this story in the first place. Because President Trump, he's actually honoring women, but according to the liberal media, they're saying that President Trump is not actually honoring women. They're saying that President Trump is doing just the opposite. And they've been lying ever since 2016. Ever since 2016, when President Trump came out as a Republican, the left, they have been lying, saying that President Trump is not for women. He denigrates women. When President Trump actually put women in positions of authority over men and other women than any other person in the industry of construction or just business, period. President Trump has done this, but they know this, but they count on people not knowing the factual information. That's why they constantly put out all of these lies, constantly putting it out there. Now, I want you to listen to this one, because the Democrat Party, they're really on the verge of total collapse. And as I mentioned before, as much as I've been doing the videos, my biggest thing was to bring awareness of what these demonic people were doing. And people get it now. People are watching it. People are seeing it unfold. Listen to what they say here on the Communist News Network.
And the order specifically calls out the African American History and Culture Museum. Now, you are the only Black governor currently serving, only the third ever elected. What do you make of that order?
I just find it deeply disrespectful that their definition of making America great again is actually challenging some of the things that makes America great in the first place. That we are an ecosystem where we've invited people from all around the world to be part of this larger American journey. And loving your country does not mean lying about its history. Loving your country does not mean diminishing those who have helped to make this country so powerful and make America so unique in world history in the first place.
Let me give you a little more context of what's going on here. They're talking about the Smithsonian. And President Trump is wanting to just keep American history in the Smithsonian. President Trump doesn't want Australia. He doesn't want England. He doesn't want Ireland, right? He doesn't want all of these other countries' information in the Smithsonian. It's supposed to be about American history. This dude is lying.
Well, Will, you asked me to research on what is happening with the Smithsonian.
Yes.
Can I just tell you real quick?
Yeah, give us some more information.
So, of course, Trump, he did the Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History executive order at the beginning of this year. First thing, it was one of the first executive orders he did. The order directs J.D. Vance to review Smithsonian exhibits and programs to eliminate what administration deems as improper, divisive, or
That's not it?
or anti-American ideology.
I thought you had it up. Oh, okay. Okay.
The primary focus of the directive is to get rid of exhibits or programs that downgrade American values and promote ideologies conflicting with federal law, such as LGBT, transgender exhibits, American history related to race-related exhibits, because a lot of these haven't really been historically accurate in the first place. They're promoting an ideology instead of actual history, just like this gentleman right here. The critics are coming on here and saying that Trump is trying to downplay the impact of racism and contributions of Black Americans throughout history. Yet they haven't been able to prove any of that. None of that's actually even happened. But they say this to because Trump is looking at taking away money from the Smithsonian for inappropriate, not divisive exhibits. Do you blame him for that? I don't blame him for that. We are tired of the divisiveness, the wokeness in this country. Basically, he's getting rid of the wokeness in the Smithsonian.
Yeah, which has nothing to do with American history. It's the way these people feel. You know, they're interjecting their feelings, right? But even at the same time, what this dude is saying is, when she asked him the question, he's trying to bring in trying to say that President Trump is eliminating history from like Africa, Black people. Black people have history in this country. Well, let's talk about the American history of Black people, right? I don't care about the history. If I want to learn about the history about the different countries in Africa, then I will go research, right? I will go research that. But other than that, it's not important to me.
Nothing in his directive said don't be historically accurate.
I know,
but
they twist everything.
They twist everything.
They
say, we want you to be fearful of something that has not even happened.
That is true, too. Well, this might happen if we don't do so-and-so. Well, I mean, you're speculating.
And so we have got to put a core focus not on eliminating nor erasing history, but on lifting it up, on celebrating it, on understanding that the American mosaic is big and it's broad and it's beautiful. And that's one of the things that makes us so powerful, that I am standing here. I remember on my inauguration day, I actually started down at the docks in Annapolis, not just because it's beautiful. I started it there because that was one of this country's first and largest slave ports. And we had a wreath laying, and then we actually marched from the docks to the State House, where I was inaugurated as the first Black governor of this of our state. And I explain to people, that's not indoctrination. That's history. It's a joint collective history, and it's one that we should be celebrating, talking about the history of this country, all parts of it, flaws and all, because that's what gives America strength, and that's what makes us move forward.
You know what I find interesting here is that he is so happy, so proud to be the first Black governor, as if his color has anything to do with it. Like his color is going to change, or it should change the way he governs. That shouldn't have, your color shouldn't have anything to do with the way you govern. But he's so happy to be the first Black governor in Maryland. Well, what is the history of Maryland when it comes to slavery? Was Maryland not a Southern state? How did they feel about it? And it took all the way up until this time before they decided to allow a Black person to be governor. The Democrats never wanted Black people to be in the position in the first place. And the only reason why they allow it today is so they can bring people like him on the Communist News Network and say, look, Black people, look what we are allowing you to do. Look, Black people, we brought the first one on here and to talk about this issue. And see, they're trying to make what President Trump doing is trying to say it's racist. President Trump is not removing Black history. President Trump has never even talked about it or even alluded to removing Black history. But the Democrats, because President Trump is wanting to get rid of DEI, which has no place anywhere in American history, it really doesn't, other than the Democrats try to implement it. That's the only place it needs to be. They tried to implement DEI as history, and it needs to be history. But that's the only thing need to be in there. But they're trying to say that President Trump is eliminating DEI. is eliminating Black history, and it's a bald-faced lie.
And listen, I think it's great that he's the first governor of Maryland. Good for him. I hope it was basically because of his merit and not because of DEI, right? But I think when you do things like constantly pushing slavery, I'm the first person, since slavery, and he's walking the path and doing marches, that's fine to remember history. But when it's a constant focus, like we need to be reminded because somehow today we are still creating slavery mentality, or we're still believe that one person is lower than the other. Like that's why they continue to do it. And they continue to, when something happens is bad and you keep opening up the wound, it does cause divisiveness. Why don't you celebrate the other great things that we have done here in America instead of that being your only focus? That was a stain. Let's talk about how great we are today and the great things that we've done and how far we've come since then. But they don't do that. They want us to constantly remember that we were oppressed at one point in this America, and you are forever going to have to pay for it.
We or they?
Well, I'm talking about we as people here in America have to consistently pay for it.
No, you're right. You're right.
But we've corrected our wrongs.
Yes.
We've moved on. But if you're going to live in the past, you're going to keep that mentality here today. Of course, there's still going to be divisiveness. And Trump wants to move on. Trump wants a better America. Trump is saying, listen, of course it was there, but we are way better than we were then. Let's get everybody working. He's not focusing on people's color. He's focusing on all Americans, no matter what race, creed, religion, whatever you are.
Yeah, but what I've noticed is that the Democrats, they reject, or especially Black ones, okay, let me just get right to it. They reject the future because they want to live in the past.
Yeah. So, some people like to be victims. Because then they feel like.
Let me squeeze one more in here real quick. So listen to this one, because here again, they're talking about this, and even with the Smithsonian being, targeted. Listen.
Professor Brooks, thanks for being here. When you hear this administration talking about improper ideology, what goes through your mind?
First of all, Anderson, thank you for having me on, and thank you for lifting up this topic. So when I think about an American president charging the vice president with rooting out improper ideology at the Smithsonian, I think about a couple things. It is not the job of an American president to charge the crown jewel of American art and history and culture with having a proper ideology. Right? So in other words, the Smithsonian was created for the diffusion, the spreading, the expansion of knowledge, not engaging in ideology or propaganda or whitewashing our American history.
You hear this?
That's exactly.
Are you here? That's exactly what they were doing with DEI.
And that's exactly what they're doing with these projects.
Yes, that's exactly what they're doing.
He's saying you can do all that. Just cut it out.
Dude, you can't make
ideology
it up.
that you want to promote.
You can't make it up. DEI is propaganda.
It is.
100%.
100%.
Someone says, Will Johnson, if you were working in the White House, you would only be there because of DEI. And you know what? I would have to agree. You know what DEI would stand for then? Definitely earned it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Definitely earned it, right? Not what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, oh, you don't even have to worry about it. You don't even have to have knowledge in what we want you to do, just because you meet the prerequisites of what we're saying, diversity and equity and inclusion. That's all of that needs to be. And of course, they're trying to say that, President Trump is not even honoring women.
And so I'm absolutely insulted by this, as I believe many Americans are, in terms of our intelligence and culture are simultaneously being insulted by this executive order, which is, as many of them are, histrionic and hysterical, constitutionally suspect, and dangerous.
The idea that you cannot acknowledge somebody from the past for enslaving people, for crimes they committed for, being of their time, even if it is of their time. It seems that's an extraordinary thing. The idea that we can't talk about injustices of the past seems and acknowledge them. I don't understand that.
Now, you remember I just told y'all that they don't want to live in the future unless it's completely woke and DEI and all this other nonsense, demonic stuff. But they're quick to live in the past as if here's Anderson Cooper, a white Democrat, talking to a black Democrat, wanting the black Democrat to live in the past. Let's listen to his answer, his response.
Well, Anderson, let's think about this. This executive order is an attempt to essentially make America great by propaganda. But let us note this. Unless we're honest about American history, we can't appreciate the greatness of American history.
Oh my
gosh, I can't stand liars. I mean, talk about propaganda and erasing history. Listen, nothing in Trump's order had any of those restrictions. None of it. They said no more woke, no more DEI, no more divisiveness. Let's bring America together. You can actually celebrate slavery, saying, look how far we've come from that. We went there, but now we're here. That's a wonderful way to celebrate it, right? Celebrate that we defeated it. But they don't want that to be the message. They want to continue to divide us and drive hate into America. And that's what Trump is trying to eliminate. God bless him.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, I want to play one more, and then we're going to go to the press secretary. She has a live press conference going on right now. But I just want to play this one. It's really short. This is President Trump honoring women, because the left, they never, ever talk about this, and they don't want people to know.
I also want to say driving force behind the effort to create a women's history museum, working very much with some of the women in this room. I'm not sure if it's been discussed specifically, but to create a women's museum on the National Mall. And we have a great site. I'm very good at real estate, We have a great site. And Nicole Meliatakis is here someplace. Where's Nicole? And she is really working hard on this one. This is a passion for you, and you're working. It's a big, beautiful. She said it's going to be a big, beautiful museum. Well, it has to be. If it's for women, it better be big and beautiful, or we're in trouble, right? But we're working on that, and you get that going, and we're going to back it 100%. Unless the women here would rather not have a. Is anybody not in favor of a women's museum in this room? Please, it's okay. I could see some. Maybe they want to save a couple of bucks, right? No takers. Okay, you're all set. You have it then. I guess. I sort of thought that was going to happen.
You know what? I love when President Trump just destroys the entire narrative of the Democrat Party. I really do. And this is the reason why they never show this. Okay, so Caroline, press secretary, is speaking right now. We're going to go to her now.
Incredible efforts that have been made at the Environmental Protection Agency, and Administrator Lee Zeldin is just doing a tremendous job. Just yesterday and today it will be going into effect. He announced that taxpayers will be saved $8 million in annual lease costs by moving staff out of the 323,000 square feet of space that the EPA currently occupies, which is completely unnecessary. Yesterday, Administrator Zeldin also announced he will be shutting down a museum that the Biden administration built to tell a selective story about the EPA's history and climate change. It was a real pat on the back to President Biden. And guess how much American taxpayers paid for it? $4 million for this museum that I think only 1,000 visitors saw last year alone. And it will cost American taxpayers $600,000 per year to operate this museum. Well, it's not going to exist anymore. We're going to save taxpayers those critical funds. And Administrator Zeldin is very proud to announce that. And just at EPA alone, and the cuts that they have made, they've saved taxpayers more than $22 billion in wasteful grants and spending. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. When the president goes down to Florida on the weekends, does he ever hear from, there are so many retired folks down in Florida, does he ever hear from any retired Americans who are stressed about these wild swings in the stock market because of the tariff uncertainty. And they're sitting there on fixed income or living off a 401k, and they don't know how much money's going to be left.
Well, certainly they are legitimate concerns, and the president takes those concerns very seriously, and he's addressing them every single day. And tomorrow's announcement is to protect future generations of the senior citizens you mentioned. It's for their kids and their grandkids to ensure that there are jobs here in the United States of America for their children to live the American dream, just like they presumably did. And as for their worries about their 401ks, their Social Security, I just addressed Social Security. This president is always going to protect it for our tax-paying senior citizens. As for their 401ks, look at what President Trump did for you in his first term. He is working on implementing that economic formula every single day by lowering inflation, lowering energy prices, massive deregulatory efforts, while simultaneously effectively implementing tariffs. And they'll hear more about that announcement tomorrow.
And you said that the president right now is with the trade and tariff team. They are very confident that this is all going to work. But
Yes.
What if they're wrong?
They're not going to be wrong. It is going to work. And the president has a brilliant team of advisors who have been studying these issues for decades, we are focused on restoring the golden age of America and making America a manufacturing superpower. And again, Peter, I would point you to the investments that have already trickled into this country. And the president hasn't even made his tariff announcement yet tomorrow. There have been billions of dollars in private investments from around the world pouring into American communities. What does that look like for those watching at home, for the people you mentioned, worried about their own economic circumstances? It means more jobs in your communities, which means more money, more investments, more money in your pocket. That's what the president is committed to. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the president's commitment to tax cuts, which we are counting on Congress to do, especially on Social Security.
And one more.
Sure.
Are the special elections today a referendum on the president?
I think first of all, as you know, I'm a government employee now, so I'm not very much allowed to comment on elections that are taking place. That's something to get used to, having just been on the campaign trail for quite some time. But the president is the leader of the America First movement and the MAGA movement. And that was made very clear on November the 5th when he received nearly 80 million votes. I could also say that it is the constitutional right of every law-abiding American in these places where these elections are being held to vote, and every American should exercise their constitutional rights. Sure.
Thanks, Carolyn. A few questions about this deportation case. First, I wanted to clarify something that you said to Jeff a few minutes ago. You said you'd seen evidence that this man was a convicted gang member. In what court was he convicted and for what?
This individual was an MS-13 ringleader. This individual was also engaged in human trafficking. And I'm glad you brought up this point again, because I would like to point out that if you just saw the headline from the insane, failing Atlantic magazine this morning, you would think this individual was Father of the Year, living in Maryland, living a peaceful life, when that couldn't be further from the truth. They didn't even mention in the title of that article, or even in the first paragraph, that this individual is an illegal criminal who broke our nation's immigration laws. He is a leader in the brutal MS-13 gang, and he is involved in human trafficking, and now MS-13 is a designated foreign terrorist organization. Foreign terrorists have no legal protections in the United States of America, and this administration is going to continue to deport foreign terrorists and illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
But a judge ordered that he should remain in this country. So are you saying that it is okay to ignore a judge's ruling if you don't like it?
Who does that judge work for?
It
was an immigration judge who works for the Department of Justice at the direction of the Attorney General of the United States, whose name is Pam Bondi, who has committed to eradicating MS-13 from our nation's interior. And let me tell you why we've made this commitment. MS-13, may I remind each and every one of you, is a brutal and vicious gang. They raped and strangled a 20-year-old autistic woman to death in Maryland. They hacked 4 people to death with machetes in a park on Long Island. They have kidnapped, sexually tortured, and shot a teenage girl in Texas after she insulted them, allegedly. Killed and mutilated a 17-year-old girl in Virginia, stabbing him 16 times and cutting off his hands. They beheaded and cut out the heart of a man in Washington, D.C. They raped and murdered a 13-year-old girl in California. They sex trafficked a slew of young girls, including one who was just 12 years old. Raped an 11-year-old girl in Brooklyn while her brother was in the room. Sex trafficked a 13-year-old in Maryland and Virginia. miles away from this White House, even beating her 26 times on her backside with a baseball bat, pressured homeless New Yorkers to undergo unnecessary surgeries such as spinal fusion in order to bolster their fraudulent lawsuits. These are vicious criminals. This is a vicious gang. And I wish that the media would spend just a second of the same time you have spent trying to litigate each and every individual of this gang who has been deported from our country as the innocent Americans whose lives have been lost at the hands of these brutal criminals. We maintain our position, and very strongly so. Jennifer.
One more on the tariffs. Can you say what the latest thinking is on the start date? I know you were just in the Oval. Are they all going to take effect this week on the reciprocal tariffs? And whenever they start, is that enough time for companies and everyone involved to adjust to that start date?
My understanding is that the tariff announcement will come tomorrow. They will be effective immediately. And the president has been teasing this for quite some time, as you know. He's talked a lot about April 2nd as Liberation Day in America. It would be taking place today if not for April Fool's Day. But tomorrow will be the day, and he's been talking about it for a while. And as a result, you've seen these companies make commitments to investing right here in the United States. Jasmine.
Thank you so much. I wonder, back on tariffs, what, if any, market indicators is the White House looking for to see if this tariffs plan is successful down the line?
Well, look, the president has been asked and answered this question about the stock market and whether he's watching it. And I've said, and he has said, the market is a snapshot in time. Yesterday, Dow futures were up. And there's been a lot of talk about the market, and it was up yesterday. So, look, the president wants to ensure that all Americans make out well, particularly Main Street. That's the focus of these tariffs. But as I've said repeatedly, just like they were in his first term, Wall Street will be just fine. Shelby.
Thanks. A bipartisan pair of senators sent a letter to the president today arguing that the recent strikes in Yemen are emboldening the Houthis and saying that Congress has not authorized war against them. Is the administration planning to consult with Congress at some point or going forward regarding the strikes, and any response on the letter?
Well, I would absolutely reject Congress's claims. Who made those claims in Congress?
Senator Jeff Merkley and Rand Paul.
Okay, well, I would absolutely reject those claims. These Houthi strikes have been incredibly successful. Last time I was at this podium, there were more than 100 successful strikes. There have now been over 200 successful strikes against the Houthis. Iran is incredibly weakened as a result of these attacks. And we have seen they've taken out Houthi leaders. They've taken out critical members who were launching strikes on naval ships and on commercial vessels. And this operation will not stop until the freedom of navigation in this region is restored, which is a critical principle. And this president stands behind our Defense Department, who's doing a tremendous job.
Are they going to, is the White House going to confer with Congress going forward on this?
I would have to ask our team here at the White House, but the president is well within his authority, as is the Secretary of Defense. Again, these are defensive strikes. The Houthis have been launching attacks on U.S. naval vessels and commercial ships for quite some time. Go ahead.
Caroline, the pause on the Canadian and Mexican tariffs, the fentanyl tariffs, that's set to expire tomorrow. Is the president considering extending that pause?
Look, I will let the president speak on the specifics of the tariffs tomorrow. But as for fentanyl, we have seen this has certainly caused a national security crisis here in the United States. Fentanyl continues to be the #1 killer of young people in this country, and the president is very much focused on that. Deanna.
Thank you, Caroline. The president recently signed an executive order on making D.C. safe and beautiful. On the campaign trail, he talked about making New York great again. Does he have any plans on establishing a similar task force? Has he been pressuring Governor Hochul in any way in his conversations about New York and lowering crime?
Well, he has been in correspondence with Governor Hochul quite a bit on the issue of crime, also on the issue of congestion pricing, and so many other issues that are facing New Yorkers. And he wants New York to clean up their streets just as he does here in Washington, D.C. He also speaks to Mayor Adams as well. So he's engaged with state and local leaders across the entire country to ensure they're doing their part to help American citizens in each and every state, regardless of if it's a red state or a blue state.
A question on Russia. Yesterday, the Russian government said that their new goal is 160,000 conscripts for the war. Has the president seen that number, and does he have any response given his recent conversations on peace talks?
Well, I can tell you what the president said last night, and that is he is frustrated with leaders on both sides of this war. He wants this war to end. There are men that are dying on both sides, and it's been going on for far too long. Our team continues to be engaged with the Russians as we are with the Ukrainians, and the president continues to be very, very much engaged on this topic every single day.
Caroline?
Sure.
Caroline,
Sure.
The president said over the weekend that he couldn't care less if prices went up on foreign cars because people buy more American cars. There's been consensus from a lot of economists that these tariffs could raise prices on other goods as well. Is the president comfortable with Americans on Main Street paying more because of these tariffs?
The president is doing everything he can, and this entire administration is doing everything we can to bring down the cost of living in this country. An inflation mess that was fueled by the previous administration's reckless spending, overburdensome regulations that this administration is focused on slashing every single day. I just read you a statistic just from the Environmental Protective Agency alone. We're saving taxpayers money that's ultimately going to drive down inflation, and we're unleashing the might of our energy industry, which will bring down prices as well. To the heart of your question, because this is very important to the American people, you should trust what this president did for you in his first term. He effectively utilized tariffs while driving down inflation. It was a record low 1.4% when he left office, and he's focused on getting back to that. It's unfortunate the previous administration left us in this mess. Sure.
Representative Anna Paulina Luna left the Freedom Caucus over their lack of support for her bill that would allow new parents to proxy vote around 12 weeks around the birth of their baby. Does the president support that bill?
I'm not sure. I haven't actually talked to the president about that bill, but I certainly can and can get a take on if he supports it or not.
Thank you. And one more. The D.C. Circuit ruled last week that the president can fire holdover Biden appointees of independent agencies. Will this ruling empower President Trump to dismiss more federal employees?
Well, the president has given the responsibility to his cabinet secretaries to hire and fire at their respective agencies, and they reserve that right. You saw the Secretary of Health and Human Services announced more layoffs today. This is all part of the administration's effort for a mass reduction in force in the federal bureaucracy here in Washington, D.C. to save American taxpayers money. As for agencies within the president's executive authority, the president retains that right. And we've seen there have been bureaucrats at some of these agencies that have been trying to act independent. They need to remember who they work for. It's the executive of the executive branch. You look at the United States Institute of Peace, for example. There was a little bit of a standoff with bureaucrats over there who didn't want to realize who they work for, and that is Donald Trump. And President Trump is focused on streamlining these agencies to save American taxpayers money, and he has every right to do that.
Caroline.
Sure. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline.
Yeah.
In Gaza, the bodies of 15 rescuers have been found in their sort of ambulances where they were apparently killed by Israeli forces. Just wondering if the White House is going to be calling on Israel to investigate that and to try and avoid similar casualties involving rescue workers in the future.
Well, as for the specific situation you just mentioned, I'll talk to the president about it and our national security team. What I can tell you is what I've spoken with the president on. He very much remains committed to backing Israel, and it was only because of this president and his team's leadership that we had a temporary ceasefire in Gaza, that we were able to bring many hostages home, and the president made it very clear to Hamas, you get the hostages out, all of them, or there will be hell to pay, and Hamas is certainly witnessing what it feels like for all hell to be paid, and the president supports Israel's right to defend itself.
Any progress at all on a ceasefire at the moment, as far as the president's concerned?
The president and his team continue to be engaged on this every single day. Sure. Go ahead, Tamara.
So I'm just wondering, related to that, if you have an approximate date for the president's first foreign trip. I think there was a little confusion yesterday about what month he was talking about. And then will he need a ceasefire to be in place or closer, either in Gaza or in Ukraine, before that trip takes place?
Mm-hmm. The president will be heading to Saudi Arabia in May. As for specific dates and details, we will be reading those out to you as soon as we possibly can. I know our teams are working on the details of that trip. And then again, as for a ceasefire, the president's made it clear that's what he wants to see in Russia and Ukraine, and his team continues to be engaged on it every day.
And Kelly, Signal, you said case closed yesterday. Do you, as that case was closed, do you have anything that you can share about what was learned, how this can be avoided in the future, any sort of findings from that investigation?
The case is closed, and the president continues to have confidence in his national security advisor. Yes, Kelly. Kelly.
Thanks, Caroline. So the
Sorry,
president
Ed.
has said.
Ed, I'll come to you after.
The president has
I'm
said.
glad you're so eager to ask a question.
It's Liberation Day.
Yes, it is.
Caroline, the president has said foreign
Tomorrow.
countries and companies will eat the cost of tariffs. In his speech on Inauguration Day, he said, quote, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens.
Right.
So then why did he have to tell the domestic automakers not to raise prices?
Well, that was a private conversation that was had. I'm not sure if that comment was made or was not made. But as for what the president said in his Inauguration Day speech, he's absolutely correct. A tariff will be a tax on these foreign nations, these foreign companies, and if they want to be absolved of that tariff, then they can come here to the United States of America to do business, bring their jobs here. Edward, go ahead.
Thank you. So Canadians have been negotiating with the Commerce Secretary over the trade, the tariffs. How many companies are mutually talking with the U.S. or countries are mutually talking with the U.S. to lower tariffs?
I don't have a specific number, but I can tell you there have been quite a few countries that have called the president and have called his team in discussion about these tariffs. But again, there's one country the president cares most about, and it's the United States of America, and doing what's best for the people who elected him to this office to restore their jobs, their wealth, and their prosperity. I'm looking at the clock. I have a hard out today. I have a hard out today because I'm actually heading over to the State Department with the First Lady of the United States. She will be delivering remarks at 1 o'clock this afternoon at the 19th International Women of Courage Award ceremony with our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. That starts at 1. This is the 5th year Mrs. Trump is participating and standing with brave women leaders who embody American values abroad. And the First Lady in her remarks today will highlight the profound connection between the love and courage that will be shown by this year's honorees. I encourage everybody to tune in at 1 o'clock, and then we'll see you all tomorrow for Liberation Day. Thanks, guys.
Oh, nice. So now we have more women getting honored today, Shannon. I had no idea about that.
Look at that.
Look at that.
And we're going to have our great First Lady delivering a speech. I love to hear from her.
Yes. Wow. All right. So let me get back to some more of this other stuff that we have to talk about here. And one of the things I want to talk about are these criminals that the Democrats brought into the country. And I think what it is that the Democrats, because they brought them into the country, remember they had open borders? Well, when all the cameras were recording the people crossing over the border, the Biden administration, they tried a different way by flying them into the country so people couldn't see that. And they were flying them to various places throughout the United States of America, and mainly because they wanted to, change the census reports, which in actuality ends up changing the Electoral College. That was their whole agenda. But these Democrats are actually fighting for these hardened criminals in the United States of America, saying that they deserve due process. So picture this. Terrorist walks across the southern border. They know it's a terrorist. He's on the terrorist watch list. And the Democrats go, you can't deport him. He needs due process. Are you kidding me? See, this is the problem right now. You need to cut out the red tape and just, nope, you can't come here. Especially you've been in your country talking about you want to eradicate the United States of America, how they say it, death to America, and then they walk across the border and the Democrats go, welcome, do your worst. I mean, that's essentially what they're saying. Well, it's the very fact that the Democrats want to give terrorists due process. And they go, well, regardless of who they are or what they've done in the past, they deserve due process. But you know who didn't get due process? Actual American citizens. In January of 2021, they didn't get due process. And these Democrats, they don't care that actual American citizens not getting due process. These people that are in the country shouldn't be here in the first place. They're fighting for them to have due process. You can't make this up.
Isn't this exactly what we denounce other countries for doing? Not giving our own citizens when they get wrongfully detained around the world, our own citizens, the due process that they deserve?
Well, I think multiple things could be true. Number one, I delineate between American citizens and everyone else. If you're a U.S. citizen, I put you in a different category.
On due process, that's not a distinction that the law makes,
Then if you've come here and broken our laws and committed violent acts or murdered and raped and whatever, I put you in a different category.
When it comes to the law and due process.
You notice how she's trying to shut him down for saying common sense stuff here? That's her MO. Scott Jennings is saying common sense stuff here, and she jumps in to cut him off every single time without fail.
Well, if you'd like to argue that Trinidad Aragua should have the same rights and that you get as an American citizen, go ahead.
Here's the argument. Change the Constitution. The argument is
you're saying that a terrorist can walk across the border and become effectively a U.S. citizen?
That's not what I'm saying.
Scott, look at me. Okay. You and I are talking. You and I are talking. Okay. What I'm saying to you is that the law does not make a distinction between U.S. citizens and everybody else when it comes to being accused of crimes. Are you saying that should not be in place? That if you happen to not be a citizen, you get to be thrown into a jail with no process at all?
I'm saying that these people are effectively terrorists. They walked across our borders illegally.
Okay.
They are violent, and I don't really want them here.
But doesn't the government have to prove that they are who they say they are?
This is maddening. They already know. And wait a minute. And she's saying, shouldn't the government have to prove who they are? Who Tom Holdman, right? Because she doesn't care who they are. They can be terrorists, hardcore criminals, gang members. They don't care. Because when they came into the country, they didn't vet them in. Like all of a sudden, you have to find out who they are and what they're all about. But when they were bringing them into the country, they knew that they were gang members and terrorists. They had no problems with it. Like, nope, don't even ask. But now you have to ask. How does that work? You understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. And
you understand what I'm saying? Now they're concerned, but nope, you need to find out who they are and you need to give them due process. When they shouldn't be here in the first place.
Yeah, they didn't care about who they were, or where they came from or anything. We didn't ask them to prove anything, right? When they came across the border, we're just like, yeah, come on in. But Holman said that these ICE agents are very good at what they do, and I believe that is very true. They hunt these down. They make sure that there may be some, what was it? They said there might be some mistake somewhere, somehow. Elon Musk said, not everything's perfect. Biden administration wasn't perfect, obviously. Right. Afghanistan withdrawal and other things. But there may be some issues somewhere. But for the most part, they are all illegals. And for the most part, they all don't belong here. But Trump invoked executive privilege on the information that they had on these people because he said it was what do you call it? National security information, right? So he wasn't going to share it with the president. So for all these people know, if Biden had said that, they'd be like, well, that's all we need. Biden said it's executive privilege, it's of national security. So I believe that all these people were rightly extradited, right? But because it's Trump, it's like he has to prove it to me, prove it to me. I'm above him. I need to know everything that he's doing. So sick of these people.
Yeah, you know what? That's pretty
instead
much
of exactly standing behind our president, they stand behind people that don't care about America.
And you know what? They don't care that we see it. They do not care that we actually see them supporting these they'll come out and they'll say, well, we're not actually supporting the criminals. We're supporting the law system here. That's what we're supporting. They're not. They're doing just the opposite.
Yeah, and I like how that lady said, well, then change the Constitution. You hear in the background, there's was Abby was trying to talk to Jennings. But you didn't care about the Constitution or our laws when you let all of them, when you open up our border. So who are you to talk about all of a sudden, let's follow the Constitution? What about the J6ers that didn't get due process?
That's what I was just saying.
Did you care about them?
There are American citizens right now that did not get due process, but they don't care about them because they're American citizens. This is another example of how the Democrats will straight up say America last. And they're not even shy about it. Right? They're not saying the actual words America last, but they're most definitely not saying America first. They're not going to say that. They'll never say that, right? Because for them, America does come last. For them, America does come last. 100%. Let me go back to some more of this. Actually, how much time do we have here? Yeah, let me go back to some of this because this is pretty explosive.
Correct.
I think.
That's all we're saying.
That's all.
I think.
I mean, you can say it.
Eventually,
it's not a concession that you like Tren de Aragua. It's just a question of the basics of civics in this country.
I think eventually the government will have to show all of its cards on everybody that they have detained, deported, or done anything to in this arena. But there is no doubt that the Trump administration is rounding up effectively terrorists who came across here illegally, committed horrific acts, and do not need to be in this country.
They are doing that, perhaps, but they're also doing a lot of other things, too. And that's why the courts are asking questions about it. We do have to leave it there.
You see that? They're doing that perhaps. Did you catch that? They're doing that perhaps. I mean, you know, they might be doing that. No, that's exactly what they're doing. Here's another great example of this. Have you seen this one, Shannon? Have you seen this? This is a great example of, again, wanting to advocate, wanting to fight for the hardcore criminals in the country. They don't do the same thing when it comes to Americans. They don't.
Do they get a chance to prove that before you take them out of the country and put them into a notorious prison in a country that they're not even from? I mean, do they have any due process at all?
Did you catch that? Did you just catch what he just said? Let me take it back because I think a lot of people probably missed it. Listen to what he just said. Here, listen.
Do they get a chance to prove that before you take them out of the country and put them into a notorious prison in a country that they're not even from?
They're not even from this country. They're not even from America. Are you kidding me? I don't care where they are. Get them out. The hardcore criminals, all of the terrible things that they've done, get them out. They're not even from here. Oh, they don't have to be from here, but you can come here to America, and then we'll advocate for you. We'll fight for you no matter what crime you have committed. Get them out of the country. They're not even from here. I mean, I can't even believe he actually said that. I can't even believe he actually said that. Listen.
I mean, do they have any due process at all?
Look, due process. Where was Lake and Ronnie's due process? Where were all these young women that were killed and raped by members of TDA? Where was their due process?
Well, the people that did that should be prosecuted.
On the subway, where's her due process?
Well,
the bottom line is that plane was full of people designated as terrorists. Number one. Number two, every Venezuelan migrant on that flight was a TDA member based on numerous criminal investigations, on intelligence reports, and a lot of work.
They don't care about that.
See, you know,
they don't care about that.
This is the problem. They don't even understand the alien enemies act anymore. They're not even talking about that. They're talking about these people like they're just your average illegal immigrant that walked across the border. They are not. Just like he said, they have a lot of information on these people that have investigations that have proven that they are terrorists, which Trump designated them as. Once they're terrorists, that due process goes out the window. They get to immediately get deported.
Well, the Democrats don't want them to be labeled as terrorists. Just like Trans Tifa and BLM, the organizations, those are terrorist organizations because they terrorize people during the summer of love. You remember that? They terrorize people. Just like right now, these people are terrorizing people for going to a Tesla dealership and buying a Tesla. They're terrorizing people at Tesla dealerships. They're actually terrorizing people. Have you seen this one, Shannon?
Oh, yeah.
Here's Pam Bondi. And Pam Bondi is speaking up. Now, I'm still, you know, I can't help but think about, you know, the whole Epstein file thing, but that was a total mistake. I think she's trying to make up for it. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. But they've already arrested the dude that you see right there. They've already arrested this dude here. because of the terrorist acts that he was doing against Tesla.
I've made it clear, if you take part in the wave of domestic terrorism against Tesla properties, we will find you, arrest you, and put you behind bars. Today, I am proud to announce that the Department of Justice has unsealed federal charges against another Tesla attacker. We've charged Cooper Frederick in the firebombing of a Tesla dealership that occurred on March 7th in Loveland, Colorado. All of these cases are a serious threat to public safety. Therefore, there will be no negotiating. We are seeking 20 years in prison. The crime was committed in Colorado, and thanks to the great investigative work by the FBI, the defendant was arrested in Plano, Texas. Let this be a warning. You can run, but you cannot hide. Justice is coming.
You can run, but you cannot hide. Justice is coming. I mean, they already got one. There's a whole bunch of other ones out there. A whole bunch of them. You know, when I went out to the event this past weekend, because it was Jasmine, how do you say it? Jasmine Crockpot? Yeah. Jasmine, is it Crockpot or Crackpot? I guess either one works, right? I think I like Crackpot. Jasmine Crackpot. It was her birthday, and she was actually calling for people to go out on her birthday and take down Tesla. And one of the things that was relayed at the Tesla event that I went to, and it happened right before I got there, the police department told all of the anti-American, all of the anti-factual truth people, the liberals, that if there's any violence, that they will be arrested and not to be violent. So, of course, I'm surprised they actually listened, Shannon. I'm surprised they didn't do any violence. Yeah. You know, I'm surprised they didn't do any violence. Maybe that wasn't in their agreement when they were working, because, you know, they all left exactly at 12 o'clock, because when 12 o'clock came, they all clocked out.
Well, the police, you know, I was standing by some of them, and they were saying that before it
You're standing by some of the liberals.
Yeah, I was standing by some of the liberals. The police had a talking with them before it started, and he warned all of them to be on their best behavior, that they were not going to tolerate any vandalism or any violence at the event. And they told them that if they were going to engage in that they were going to swiftly take them away. On the same hand, they said if somebody does do some kind of random, I guess, some kind of, firebombing or whatever, they gave them like a safety route to go if something extreme happens. So I think they were told not to do anything or else. And so they were on their behavior, at least here in Texas. I don't know about other places.
So I wasn't going to, but I'm going to play just one of the videos. I think this one will be okay to play. This is one of the videos from the event this past weekend at the Tesla event here in Austin, Texas. Y'all ready for this?
Elon Musk is a great American hero. You Democrats, you Democrats are the Nazis. You Democrats are the Nazis. You Nazi Democrats are the problem.
Sir.
What?
I'm sorry, but you're offending me. You're offending me.
Oh.
You're really offending me.
Really? I
Yes.
offended you?
You're offending
I
me.
hurt your feelings?
Yes, you did.
Really? I hurt your feelings? What should we do about me hurting your feelings?
Please don't use the word Nazi.
Huh?
Please don't use the word Nazi when you're talking about Democrats.
Democrats are the Nazi.
Do you
100%.
My father,
100%.
My father escaped Nazi Germany.
And now you support the same party that support Nazism. How does that work?
No.
Did you not learn anything?
I'm sorry.
Did you not learn anything?
I learned
Apparently you didn't.
a ton.
Apparently you didn't.
Sorry, you need
Because
to
it's the
stop.
Nazis that want to shut people down. The Democrats want to shut people down. Democrats don't want free speech. Why? Why? Do I not live in a free country?
Yes, you live in a free
So why do I need to stop?
You can go over
What? No. Well, how come I can stand right here? Am I not a free black man?
Yes, you are.
So I can stand where I want to in the country, right? So
Stand over there.
I don't care what you prefer. But I don't care what you prefer. I don't care. I don't care.
I know.
You think I don't know? You think I don't know? I don't care.
I know you do.
I bet you my color offends a lot of you Democrats too. It is true. Who created slavery in this country? Who wanted slavery in the country? Who wanted slavery in the country? Democrats. Democrats. Democrats and Jim Crow laws. Democrats didn't want women voting. Democrats didn't want black people voting. I mean, it's the truth.
She didn't want to hear any of that. I just find it really interesting that she was going, oh, you're offending me. You're offending me. Really? You know, free speech means that it's free speech. If you're offended by the free speech, then, hey, there's nothing you can do about it. When people say stuff about Will Johnson, and I've received colorful messages, highly colorful messages. Okay, it's free speech. See, Democrats, just like the fascists in the past, they want to shut down speech that they don't want to hear. They do the same thing today. That's where censorship is all about. And the Democrats are all about censoring people that doesn't align with their evil way of thinking. We see it across the board. They're still doing it. They're still doing it. Still doing it. All right, everybody, that is it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please bless me by hitting the thumbs up. Please bless me by hitting the thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. You can also go to my website, uniteamericanfirst.com, and sign up for the free newsletter. There's a free newsletter there. And I'm also asking people, if you would, please go there, bless me, support me, help me keep my camera on. uniteamericanfirst.com/donation. Donate/donate. You can support me monthly or one time, where all the different ones that, you know, people normally see. If we can scroll down just a little bit here. Maybe. Okay, right there. You can different ways. And also at the very bottom of that, my physical address. And I've kept every single letter that people have sent me in the past. And don't forget, right now, there's some awesome deals going on. MyPillow.com. There's some absolutely awesome deals going on right now. If you go to MyPillow.com/Will, use promo code Will, you get the best deal. I'm telling you right now. You know, I talked to Mike Lindell yesterday, and I should have had him say that, Shannon. To get the best deal, use promo code Will.
Yeah.
Oh, missed opportunity. I'm gonna have to talk to him again and get him to say it.
Look at, there's even some cross necklace. What a great gift for Easter. Huge sheet sale, honestly. Awesome sheets. He has them at wholesale prices right now. Go there, get a set for the upcoming summer. You will not regret it. Use promo code Will.
Yep, use promo code Will. All right, everybody. That's it for me. God bless you. See you tomorrow. Stay safe out there. God bless.